first time joining Mental Push-Up Mondays, I'd just like to give a big old welcome to you. This vlog is all about personal growth and development, about us becoming the best versions of ourselves. Because we know by us becoming the best versions of ourselves, we have the opportunity to create our best and most authentic lives. So welcome to you. But let's jump right into it. The title of today's message is Lean In. So this message was inspired by multiple things, actually. So the first thing was, as I talked about several weeks ago in my vlog on saying yes, I was talking about limited thinking. Because the thing is, once we make the jump past our comfort zone, doubt shows up. And so it showed up in a major way for me last weekend. So much so that I was so engrossed in the task that I had to do that I didn't have time to do my vlog last week. But, you know, the thing was that sometimes what happens is that, you know, we really hype. We go, like, this happens to me sometimes when I go to conferences. I go and I'm like, I'm super hyped. Like, I'm ready. I'm like, yes, I can do it. But then I walk away, whether from the conversation or from the workshop or whatever, and then you start talking yourself out of what's possible for you. And you start doubting your own abilities. And so that showed up for me this past week. And I just wanted to share what I learned from that whole experience. So I think the first takeaway for me was I said, our mind is by far one of the most powerful tools that we have, if not the most powerful tool. Because it was Saturday night, I opened my computer, I looked at what I needed to do, and I told myself, I said, listen, you know what, this just ain't possible, man. I can't do it. This is too big for me. I don't think, this is not for me. And so I had talked myself out of what I was capable of. And how often do we do that? We tell ourselves what we can and can't do. And so it really goes back to that quote that whether you think you can or you can't, either way, you are right. So just to add to that, talent is a slave to mindset. Sit with that. Talent is a slave to mindset. Because what we believe up here, our actions, the things we do are going to follow what's going on up here. It's going to respond to that. So we often think, well, this person is really smart, or this person has this skill set, or this, that, and the other. But really what it's about is us just changing our mind and deciding that we're going to do it. And so that's what I had to do. I had to tell myself, I can definitely do this. And I had to refer back to moments that I did that. So I first thought about it. I said, wait a minute, this job I have right now, do you know? They told me no. I got a rejection letter. I put my app in. They were like, no, oh no, we won't go. But I knew in my mind, I said, the only way that I'm leaving the classroom is if I become a coach. Like, that's it. This is a job for me. I knew that. And so what I did, my actions started to follow because I already had in my mind, I'm going to get the job. So I started calling the people. I started stalking the people. I just kept following up. That's it. They gonna know my name, if anything. And so I ended up getting an interview. And I told myself, I said, if I get an interview, I'm gonna get the job. And so here I sit today. And then secondly, I thought about, I said, wait a minute. I thought about when I was a college athlete. It was no way, according to the data, that I should have played college basketball. I was 5'4" short, and I could not shoot the basketball. Sit with that. You a guard, you're short, and you can't shoot. What are you really going to do? And so I made up in my mind that I'm going to play Division I basketball. Like, that's it. And so my actions start to follow that. I would wake up early in the morning. I would work out multiple times a day because that's what I knew I had to do to get to that next level. And so just sit with that. It's not about how smart we are. It's not about any of that stuff. It's all about a changed mind and us making a decision that this is what it is. And so our actions will begin to follow. Second takeaway for me was, if you want to be the best at it, test it. And when I say test it, I'm talking about testing your own limits. So as easy as it is for us to remain comfortable, because as I say, I love the snooze zone. Let me tell you, I love routines and doing the same thing every day. But I also recognize we cannot grow if we do what we already master. And so I really think it speaks to that quote, only those who are willing to risk going too far can find out how far one can go. And so we have to constantly continue to push ourselves. And so when you master one level, push even further, because it's not so much, what I had to learn was, it's not so much about us achieving the goal, because I think sometimes what stops me is like, I'm afraid to fail. I'm like, oh my God, well, what if I do it and you know, I get rejected, or the answer is no, or I don't get it done, or whatever it is. And so really, it's not so much about us achieving the goal. That's great, that's always great, but it's about who we become in the process. If you want to get to the next level, you've got to expand and be the best at where you are. And the only way that happens is by testing your limits. So I think the last thing that I took away from this was I had to turn my doubt into focused fear. So as I always say, fear, doubt, all of that, is normal. Any emotion we have is absolutely 100% unequivocally valid. However, if we look back at moments where we have succeeded, it's been because we moved in spite of what we felt inside. And so as I thought about it, and what I had to do is that I recognized that sometimes when we are afraid or we doubt ourselves, it's because we're uncertain. And uncertainty, actually, it's a good thing for us, because if you think about moments in your life where you didn't know, you started a new job, you got a new relationship, you did something that you really haven't done before, you are locked in on trying to figure out what you need to do. Therefore, it allows you to be more creative, because you're trying to navigate and figure out what's going on. And so research has shown that our minds get way more creative when we feel pressure and we feel tension. Like, think about that. When you go to the gym and you lift weights, the reason that your brain or your muscles or your biceps or your muscles get stronger is because it has tension. So it reminded me of my freshman year of college. My coach, he called me into the office. We had these spring meetings, and they would talk to you about what you need to work on this summer and if you were getting your scholarship back. And so it was always very scary to have that meeting. However, so he tells me, we go on, we're talking, and he says, you know what? If you don't learn how to shoot, next year you are going to be sitting on the bench, and it's a strong possibility you're not getting your scholarship back. And so that uncertainty, me not knowing, that doubt that I had in myself, because remember, I am a 5'4" guard who cannot shoot. So you know, I'm shaking in my boots. But what it did do, I had to turn that self-doubt, that uncertainty, into focused fear, because I got to work. I woke up in the morning at 5 a.m. I would make 300 shots. I would go lift weights in the afternoon. And so I had to get creative and think about ways that I could get this done. And so it's almost like, you ever procrastinate? Or maybe it's just me. But I know when I procrastinate sometimes is that I find hours or capacity within myself to get work done that I didn't even know. I was like, oh, wait a minute, I got 10 hours of work done in 3, because it's got to be done. And so we almost have to take on that same attitude when we doubt our own abilities. You know, take that energy and transform that into, I'm really about to dig in because I don't know. And watch how things change for you. And so this is just an added bonus. But I think overall, the big takeaway from leaning in and really challenging myself was I recognized that we are limitless beings. Like, for real. I really am starting to believe that there are truly no limits. The only limits that exist are the ones that are in our mind. So let's wrap this thing up in a nice little bow. Number 1, our minds are by far one of our most powerful tools that we have. Use it for your advantage. It can either be our ally or our enemy. Secondly, if you want to be the best at it, test it, meaning your limits. So the only way we know how strong we are is we continue to push past that threshold of what we think is possible. And lastly, turn your doubt into focused fear. Remember, tension in our brains, it releases creativity. Just like sometimes we procrastinate, we just find a way to get it done. So those are tidbits, words of wisdom for this week. Get out there this week, do those mental push-ups, Be bold, be brave, be you, because you are beautiful. And I am out.